Hello and welcome to the final edition of Premier League Overtime. It's great to have your company for the final time. Of course, it's grand finals have just come and been run, and now the whole season's done and dusted, Dougie. It's gone quite fast, and I guess we're a little bit upset about it, but we're here to talk about it for the last time this season. Dougie, welcome to the show, mate.
Thank you, Sam. It's good to be here talking about the grand finals. We knew they were going to be tough affairs, and they were, and the margins probably a little bit further out than we thought they were going to be, but great night of basketball in SA all around, mate.
Yeah, absolutely, and a really great crowd, I guess, really did come out to support the league and all the teams involved. There were 4 of them involved on the night, which was, I guess, a very big positive as well, crowd-wise, because plenty of different people from different clubs coming out to support, so that was brilliant. But of course, there were 2 very big grand finals on Saturday night at Titanium Security Arena, and maybe we'll just kickstart with the women's grand final. The Norwood Flames, champions and back-to-back champions now, against the West Adelaide Bearcats on Saturday night, winning 63-45, an 18-point win. And once again, which seems to be a bit of a trend between these two this year, another low-scoring affair, and the Bearcats, unfortunately, on the lowest side of that scoring struggle. They really did have a tough time scoring against the Flames, and on the defensive end, another 45-point effort. 43 points was what they scored in the semi-final against the Flames. And so I guess it was a bit of a repeat of that semi-final effort once again in the grand final, shooting at about, I think it was about 30% or something for the Norwood, even worse, I think it was 24%. Norwood shot at 30, so yeah. just a tough night and all on the offensive end.
It was, Sam, and it was 2 weeks ago in the semi-final, and I thought things might be a little bit different. I thought Westies will probably learn from that, but Norwood's defence have come out again and just shut them down totally. I mean, to keep a team to 45 points at 23% in the grand final, Sam, is a fantastic effort. And it's clearly what got them over the line, because like you said, they didn't have a great night either offensively. 30% from the field and only scored 63 themselves. So, they defense won in the game, got them over the line by 18 when you're only scoring 63. So it was a pretty interesting grand final in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've, I guess, seen a bit of a trend with teams really struggling to score against Norwood as well in the past couple of years. We know last year, I think they kept most teams under about 55 points for, I think, over 50% of their games last year. So it seems to be an emphasis of their game, that defensive stuff, and they certainly provided that once again last night. But even players, I think Jess Foley had a bit of a struggling night, 3 for 13 from the field, but still managed to get herself, the required points, 11 points, 12 boards as well, and just make a contribution, which I guess the experienced players do when it matters.
Yeah, exactly right. When you're having a bad night, you still got to chip away and try and contribute, and Jess obviously did that with her experience. You look at the Westies girls, and they really struggled. You had Talia Fijo, who was shut down by Jess Marnie, and that was going to go a long way to decide in this game. And Talia's had a great year. She's a great young basketballer, and she's just going to get better and better. But she ran into a Jess Marnie who has done this plenty of times before. She's taken down some of the best point guards in the game, and she did it again. And to keep Talia Fijo to 4 points and 1 assist for the game really held Norwood in really good stead, mate. But not only that, Ashley Vordermeyer only had 6 points, which was well below her season average. And Stana Sazevic as well, only 4 points, well below their season average. You usually get, out of those 3 girls, you usually get about 35 points. And they've come up with about, 15 between them. So, and they're about 20 points short. So, great job to the defensive targets there from Norwood. And they didn't have quite the coming off the bench either, the Westies girls. Sky Langenbrink came in. She did her best with 9 points. But like a lot of other players, she was 3 from 15 from the field. So she really worked hard. Tiona Campbell was probably their best player. She had 11 points, 6 steals. She really does work hard, gets in the lanes and creates opportunities for her teammates. They probably didn't capitalise on a lot of those fast breaks, which could have seen the scoreline a little bit closer. But tough night for the Westies girls. But Norwood, some big contributors. Jess Good, 17 and 10. She led the way on the points and the second on the boards for them. Jess Foley, we've said 11 and 12. Chelsea Brook off the bench 14-9, clearly the best bench player in the league this year, and she's just been given, well done Chelsea, she's just been signed up by the Adelaide Lightning, so she well deserved then. An MVP performance from Jess Marnie, 10 points, 6 boards, and she shut down Talia Fijo, so fantastic effort to Jess for the MVP.
Yeah, certainly a great night over there, but the Norwood Flames now 2 years in a row, they're a very successful club. The West Adelaide Bearcats, who have come from 3rd spot, I think 7th during the year after round 9 with 4 wins, 5 losses, and then to just bolt their way to the grand final the way they did. Do you think they'd be a little bit disappointed with the result, or do you think they just had nothing to lose on the night?
Oh, you'd definitely be disappointed. Just you could tell within the group, and hearing Tim talk at the Halls Wilcott Medal, and they would definitely thought they were going to win this game. They thought in their minds that they were going to make a few corrections from a couple of weeks prior, get Talia back in, and run away with a win. So they'll be disappointed definitely, but it's good signs going forward for them. You know, make a grand final. Reasonably young group. They won't have Trilly Holland next year. She's played her final game. Fantastic career, Trudy. 150 games, played the last game. So it's great been having her in the league. She's been a great player, and she's a great player for Westies. So they won't have her next year. But you look across the group. There's no reason why this group shouldn't be around the mark again, Sam. So they, get back to the training track in a month or two, or 3, depending on what Tim wants to do. And I'm sure we'll see him back in the finals next year. But they'll be gutted. They'll be gutted. You can't lose a grand final and be happy.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there's only one good thing, I guess, that comes out of that. Talia Fijo over the weekend announced the news that she has been signed up with the Perth Lynx over in the WNBL as well. So once again, a great young talent being picked up and noticed and getting an opportunity which she thoroughly deserves. So a fantastic season to her, and we congratulate her and wish her the best during the summer. So probably raring to go in next season, of course, when they return for 2017 season. But Dougie, the men's grand final was also played on Saturday night, and the Southern Tigers breaking an 18-year drought of no success at the top end in terms of championships, but they got the job done against the Sturt Sabres with an 85-66 victory. And I guess, the first flag under their new identity since they were in Noarlunga City 18 years ago when they last won. I guess it's a very, very special achievement for them, and with a 19-point margin in the grand final, you'd be feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, that's a big win and an unexpected. I mean, I expected them to win. I didn't expect them to run away with it quite like that. But it's a good score, Stan. 18 years is a long time. It's not the biggest drought in South Australian basketball, but it's a pretty big one. And so 18 years, and once again, like you said, the first flag for the Southern Suns, so the team that they joined with. I think that's their first flag ever. So to come together and combine it and finally get that first one is they're really putting some steps forward. We needed a presence down there. The girls did really well as well, making the put-in final. The men have taken it out, so let's just hope they can continue going and be a force for the next few years, Sam.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, the women as well, the transformation that's happened down there, and I think we highlighted this on Saturday night in the coverage, but the transformation that club has undergone is quite incredible, especially the men's. They went from last year with 3 wins on the board to 22 in total, including the grand final win and 1 loss. That is unheard of. I don't know if we've ever seen anything quite like that, from 10th in 1 year to 1st and champions the next in a 1-year period. And we know Creek and Starling have had a lot to do with that in terms of being the centrepiece to their success. But at the end of the day, it's 12 months between coming last and now winning a championship. It's quite remarkable. I don't think we've ever seen it in this state league before.
Well, certainly not from my memory, Sam, and it is a great turnaround, absolutely. And congratulations to the Southern Tigers for doing it. Yeah, sure, bringing players in has got a bit to do with it, but it's pretty hard to win championships and not bring guys in. I mean, that's just part of basketball, and it's good management and it's good coaching. Going out and getting guys or players, it's all part of it. But you've still got to put it together, and it's not just they just haven't come out and got a good team. They've got 2 good teams. The women's and men's are both really great. Their supporters are on board. We haven't seen a crowd like this in the Premier League for a long, long time. I mean, they were out in force on the weekend. They were making a lot of noise, and they've been doing it all year. Not only at home, they travel as well. They go away and they support their team, and they're just doing fantastic things down south. And it was probably wouldn't be a bad idea. A few other clubs just sort of take a little bit of a look at what the Southern Tigers are doing and try and emulate it, because if we had a few more clubs as up and about as they are, it can only be good for the league, and hopefully in the future we'll see a bit of that.
Well, let's talk about the game a little bit more. Mitch Creek, of course, MVP, 29 points, 14 boards. Basically just destroyed the Sabres on the offensive end of the game. But I guess earlier on in the game, avoiding the result right now and just looking back earlier into the game, Sturt were up by about 9 or 10 points, I think it was. And they were looking quite threatening, like around quarter time, second quarter. But that crowd, like you mentioned, they pulled the Tigers right back into the game, and all they needed to do was shoot a couple of deep shots. I think Todd Davies and Mitch Creek hit a couple of important shots from outside the arc, and bang, it was straight back in their favour. The crowd got right behind them, drowned out any sort of Sturt support, and yeah, they stole it from there. In the second half, 47 in favour of the Tigers to 29. Basically just ran away with it after a 1 point difference at half time. It was quite phenomenal how they managed to pull away from quite a deficit early on and then run away with a 20-point win.
Yes, it was a great start from Sturt, definitely. They came out and they hit some shots. Warbout and Klassen both connecting on early threes. And not only that, Mitch Creek had a good quarter, but they kept everyone else quiet. I mean, Starling started slowly, and Davies didn't get going in the first quarter. Johns didn't do much in the first quarter. Dobman had a couple of reasonable shots, but it was all Sturt in the first quarter. Warbout got a 5 points early, then got a mysterious second foul, which I thought he was pretty unlucky with. But then on came Rigoni. He had 7 points in about 2.5 minutes, and they got the ascendancy, and they were looking really good, Sam. Then start of the second, Tigers come out in a zone. Sturt hit 3 threes in a row, and they were really looking good. But that was a turning point. Tigers went back to man, and they tightened the screws, and they just didn't give them anything inside. So Sturt were living and dying for the 3-point line in the second quarter, and they died. I think they missed another 8 threes in that quarter. And look, a lot of them were reasonable shots for all the guys shooting them, but once you miss that many in a row, someone's got to sort of stand up and say, okay, even though this is a good shot for me, we've missed 4 or 5 in a row, let's get it back out and get something different, because they got nothing inside. And it wasn't so much because they just weren't even trying. You know, they were just settling for the shots that the Tigers were giving them. The Tigers were clearly looked like they had a game plan as let's make these guys beat us from the perimeter. And apart from Isaac White, who they gave absolutely no room whatsoever, and Sam Johns did a great job on him all night long. Apart from him, I think they basically said, if you're good enough, you can shoot it. And they unfortunately they weren't good enough from the 3-point line, especially in that second quarter where they really could have pushed out a bit of a lead, but it wasn't to happen, and Tigers made their way back into it. But Creek was fantastic all night. TK Clausen, he started on him, and you felt a little bit sorry for him because Creek was getting the basket, he was getting open shots, he was getting offensive rebounds. There was nothing TK could really do about it into the third quarter. And so it went into the third quarter, still even Stevens. Only a point in it, Sam. But they switched it up. Josiah Lee went to Creek, and poor Tim Clausen went to Alex Starling. And then Alex Starling got going. The Sturt couldn't buy a basket, and they shot at 30% all night, so they struggled. But the Tigers boys, they got the boards and they ran it. And Alex Starling was on the end of a lot of them, and he had a massive third quarter. And not only that, in the half court, they were working the ball inside, getting a little bit of penetration and dumping off to him. And so he started slowly, but Alex had a fantastic third quarter, and as did the Tigers guys, 33-18 in the third quarter, which set up the win. And it was good contributors. But the second and third quarter, Todd Davies had 5 threes in those quarters, and he averages 8 points a game. He ended up with 15, so to almost double your output in the grand final. That's a great effort from Todd, and they needed that as well because they only had 2 points off the bench all night, Sam. Peacock came in and got those 2 points and actually played really well, and because Dodman got in a little bit of foul trouble early, came in, gave him a rest, and played all the way through the second half. So, but they don't use a lot of their bench, so Todd Davies stepping up and getting those 15 points was crucial. But that third quarter, they got out and running. Sturt couldn't buy a basket, and that was the difference.
Yeah, and certainly a massive addition to that as well, since Cody Ellison was unable to play, since a South Adelaide Sandford player who was playing finals, so he can't get involved on the court, so he doesn't get injured. So another loss to them, but they still managed to go pretty well without him and win by quite a margin. So a fantastic effort by the Southern Tigers in the end. I guess quickly, maybe we'll just cover the Sturt Sabres, because, I mean, especially our man Isaac White, really well covered throughout the night. Hardly got a look, and he's been basically the man of the final series, I guess you could say. He's just been phenomenal the last couple of months and really stepped up his game beyond expectations. But being covered as well as that, do you think, I mean, Dan Johnson, of course, was always going to be a threat and scored well and top scored for the Sabres, but other than that, did you feel like maybe the offensive scoring in for the Sabres wasn't quite there because they were missing Isaac, and since he's been such a large, I mean, like 20-plus point player and contributor for the last few weeks?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, shutting him down was key. I mean, he had 9 points, but they weren't influential points at all. Sam Johns just gave him no room whatsoever, and so he wasn't able. Not only he had trouble sort of getting his own points, but he had trouble facilitating as well. Josiah Lee, obviously, also their point guard, he was kept at 2 points. Now he only averages 8, but he struggled all night, and a lot of the guys did. It was perimeter basketball for them. Like any time anyone got a reasonable look, they shot it, which is okay. You want them to have confidence, but they really needed to go inside a little bit more. In the third quarter, Johnson had a couple of and-ones. It looked like they were going to change the way they were going about, try and get the ball inside. But it wasn't enough, and they got no run either at all. They weren't able to grab the rebound and run it at Southern like Southern were doing to them in the third quarter. So, and it's tough in that third quarter when you're always bringing the ball out of the basket. It's hard to run it back at them. If you can't secure those rebounds, it's pretty tough to run back at them. So Jon Warbout, he had 12 points, and he played really well, but they were all outside the key, those points. Rigoni, like we said, he started off with 7 points in the first quarter, ended with 11, so he went missing. Burns and Owen Thomas just came in, and they tried to give him something, but they struggled to find room as well. And Johnson, 18 and 9, would have liked to see him try and work the ball inside to him a bit more, because a lot of his stuff was perimeter as well. But he definitely tried his heart out, and all the Sturt guys did. Even Isaac White, I mean, all the way through the fourth quarter, was trying to push the ball up and create some of his teammates. Just wasn't their night, and that's due to Southern Tigers. Their pressure, their defence was first class, and they deserve this championship. Absolutely, Sammy. Absolutely.
Well, it was a magnificent night on Saturday night. The Norwood Flames winning in the women, and then the Southern Tigers in the men's. 2 very comprehensive victories. Unfortunately, West Adelaide and Sturt Sabres go home without a flag in hand, and I guess reevaluate everything that's happened during the season, because it was good enough to get them there, but not quite good enough to get them across the line in the end. I'm sure they will be more than determined next year once more to come out firing once again and try and chase those championships down. But I guess on that note, Dougie, I think we've just wrapped up our final show of Premier League Overtime for 2016. It's a little bit upsetting, but what a fantastic season. How quickly it's just gone.
Yeah, the round one doesn't seem that long ago, does it? So it's been a really, really good season. It's been fun doing the show, and hopefully the viewers have enjoyed it. But the season itself had a little bit of spark about it this year. A couple of different teams playing well, and the league seems to be heading in the right direction, Sam. So it's been fun. It's been a good year, but all good things come to an end. But looking forward to next year. Well, that's the thing. All good things come to an end, but they might start again if it's the Premier League and it has a 2017 season, which it does. So you're very lucky in that regard. So we'll be back next year. I'm very sure about that, with more overtime programs, more insight and analysis on the league that you love, and the 2 favourite characters of yours on the desk right now, bringing you a whole lot of interesting stuff and a whole bunch of banter, which probably lightens up your week as well. So we're glad that you've been watching throughout the year. Dougie, thank you for joining me throughout the year as well, mate. Thank you, Sam. It's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. It's been a lot of fun here on the desk, and no doubt been a lot of fun on court, watching all the players play as well as I have throughout the year. So thank you so much for your company throughout this 2016 season. We really have enjoyed your company, and next year hopefully we will be returning with plenty more on Premier League Overtime. So stay tuned until next year. It's bye from us.